Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest breaking Manchester United news as the club continues to break in many ways because we should be talking about points dropped last night against Bournemouth, but we're actually talking about chaos again. Bruno Fernandes with some sensational comments. I still can't believe this is a genuine comment from Bruno Fernandes saying that basically he was told to leave by the club, and it was Amrim that, basically advised him to stay. We've also going to be bidding for Semenyo, according to Ben Jacobs and Sky. And we've got Mainoo's brother or half-brother wearing a free Mainoo t-shirt. So, yeah, I mean, I'd almost say United are spinning different stories to distract us from points dropped at Old Trafford. But the reality is none of these stories actually are the sort of stories you want to distract people away from because they're not good ones. We're going to start off with Bruno because I think that some of the comments that he's come out with basically saying that he feels forced out of the club and, he's obviously not very happy. Are going to generate a lot of conversation. I think some people are, very sympathetic of Bruno's situation now, and people are calling him a goat and all this sort of stuff. Were the club not trying to do what many of us wanted us to do? I mean, I'm sort of looking at it and going, the club was sort of telling him it might be the time to go, and now everyone's going, oh my God, the club's broken. I mean, was this not what many of us said to do in the summer? I'm a little bit confused, to be honest. I mean, I don't back the club on a lot of things, but if they told Bruno it might be best for him to leave last June, I had a poll on this channel where 76% of you wanted him to leave. So who is wrong and who is right? I also think in relation to Mainoo and the t-shirt, I couldn't give a shit. I'm surprised Prathurst hasn't wrote an article about it, slamming the Man United youth, because the last time I checked, Kobbie Mainoo was wearing a Man United shirt and did reasonably well for a guy that's been treated like a rusty bike and left out all winter with no action. I mean, it's just because it's his brother or half brother, how is it any different to any of you wearing a t-shirt at Old Trafford saying free Mainoo? I mean, Mainoo might not be happy with his brother for it, but it's got nothing to do with Mainoo. Unless Mainoo has said, go and wear that t-shirt, why is it even an issue? I mean, freedom of speech. Why can't his brother, his relative, his best mate wear a free Mainoo t-shirt? What's it got to do with Mainoo? People are sort of like going, oh, this is the problem with United's youth. They're too up, they cause trouble, they're too arrogant. The guy I'm bothered about was wearing a Man United shirt doing okay. I couldn't give a toss about somebody wearing a t-shirt. I mean, again, I sort of posed the question, isn't it most of you that have been saying free Mainoo for months? Free Ahmad last year. I don't get the problem with it. I think sometimes we go a little bit sensational about stuff that actually, when you scratch the surface, is basically what a lot of people are thinking anyway. If it was Maguire's brother, you wouldn't be saying there is no problem. Yes, I would, because I haven't got a problem with Maguire's brother. He's a good lad. I like him. So I haven't got a problem with it. I haven't got a problem with it at all. Has Amrim treated Mainoo badly? Yes. Are people allowed to have an opinion about that? Yes. If it crosses the line, the club will deal with it. But I personally don't think it does. I'd also say, in relation to Mainoo last night, a lot of you quite rightly said Mainoo made mistakes. That's what happens when you are criminally underused by your manager. Of course Mainoo's not sharp. Of course he's going to miss a couple of tackles. Of course he's going to misplace a couple of passes. He's hardly played any bloody football. I think for a guy that hasn't played a lot of football, he came on, possession went up, we went from 3-2 down to drawing the game 4-4. So, I was quite happy with his cameo. Let's hope we can build upon it. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Martinez cost us a goal because he hasn't played football for nearly a year. Like, these players are rusty. They're rusty. It is what it is. But let's get into what Bruno said, because this, to me, I keep reading this and I don't understand where it's coming from. I keep thinking it's fake, but apparently it's not, because it's in the Manchester Evening News. So I'm going to read it out. Apparently, this Man United have confirmed the Bruno Fernandes interview was conducted a few weeks ago and set up by the Portuguese national side. So this is not like he's done it after the game yesterday. He did this in the international break. I mean, look, let me read it out and you can tell me what you think. He said, I can't complain. I'm very well paid. No, let me get this from the very start. So Manchester United captain Bruno Fernandes has claimed the club wanted him to leave in the summer amid links of a switch to Saudi. He goes on to say, I can't complain. I'm very well paid, but obviously the difference is huge. That was never what guided me. If one day I have to play in Saudi, I'll play in Saudi. My lifestyle will change. My children's lives will be sunny. After 6 years in Manchester United with cold and rain, I'll be playing in a growing league with recognised players. I could have left like many people do and said, I want to leave. I don't want to train. I just want to leave for 20, 30 million so they pay me more on the other side. But I never did that. I never felt in a position to do that because I felt that the empathy and affection I had for the club were the same. But there comes a point where for them, money is more important than anything. The club wanted me to go. I have that in my head. I told the directors this, but I think they didn't have the courage to make that decision. I decided to stay also because of family reasons, but because I genuinely like the club. The conversation with the manager also made me stay. But from the club side, I felt a bit like if you leave, it's not so bad for us. And that hurts me a lot. More than hurting, it makes me sad because I'm a player. They have nothing to criticise about. I'm always available and I always play, good or bad. I give my all. Then you see things around you, players who don't value the club as much and don't defend the club as much. That makes you sad. The Manchester Evening News goes on to say it's a surprising claim from the captain who has been among those frustrated by United's lack of competitiveness over recent seasons. I think it is a strange thing to say by a guy that plays every week and is the captain of the team and is the best played player in the club. It is a bit of a strange one when you think about it. But look, I suppose the crux of it is that he's saying Bruno Fernandes, Manchester United's captain, Manchester United's best player, Man United's best paid player, is saying that he feels like the club were forcing him out and he feels quite sad about that. So basically, the captain of the club is saying, I'm unsettled. The captain of the club is saying that he feels like he was being forced out by the club. And he's doing it right in the middle of a season. I'm sorry. I think this is exit for Man United and Bruno Fernandes because I don't understand the logic. And I agree with Mark Prakash. It feels like it's a fake interview, which is why I sort of had to wait a little bit. It's not why I didn't do the 10 o'clock show. I've been out. But I wanted to just double check it because Abraham says, what makes this breaking news? The captain of Manchester United coming out with an interview basically throwing the club under the bus and saying that they wanted him to leave in the summer and he's not very happy. It tends to be breaking news, that, mate, with all due respect. Go back to bed and wake up. Why bring it out now? Look, there's a few things I would say. It's not on the level of Salah, because Salah did it after a game, but it's almost like a diluted version of it. You are calling the club into question. You are calling your employers into question, and you're doing it in a public way. And I don't really appreciate the captain of Man United doing it. I'm sorry. You're pitching club against player, which I don't mind if he's going to say the Glazers are the worst thing that have happened to United and Sir Jim's no better. But he's not doing that. He's not being a vocal champion for the fans. He's being a vocal champion for himself. He's basically saying they were thinking about letting me go and I'm not happy about that. Well, that's not something I'm going to get behind him on, I'm afraid. If he came out and said the Glazers are shit and that's why the club's on its arse and, you know, I'm with the fans, then yeah, that's fine. But he's not actually saying that. He's basically saying, you know, I didn't really want to leave. It felt like the club wanted me to leave, and that's made me feel very sad and underappreciated. And I don't feel appreciated. That's what I get from it. And yet, you're the captain of the club, you're on 300 grand a week, and you didn't leave. And they didn't tell you to leave. So I'm sort of like, why are we getting stories like this? And it's constant. And you know what? It's a concern because he's the captain of the club. And I don't really understand why he's saying anything, because he's not even saying that they told him to leave. He's saying it felt like they wanted me to leave, but didn't have the courage to say it. And I'm sort of like, so let me get this right? You think they wanted you to leave, but they didn't dare to tell you to leave. But the manager told you to stay and you didn't want to go and you are staying. And then 6 months later, you're going, yeah, but it felt like they wanted me to go, but they didn't say it. Mate, you're on 300 grand a week. You're Man United's best player and you're the captain. And the manager wants you to stay. And the fans want you to stay. Why tell us about it? I don't really get what the point is, unless it's the process of, here's the January transfer window, let's start making moves about me leaving in the summer. It almost feels like, I agree with GC, why now? What's happened for him to come out and say that? It feels very random, and I completely agree. And that's why I tweeted earlier, this feels like it's the beginning of the end for Bruno, because it's almost like I'm going to Saudi next summer because they didn't want me there. You know, it just feels like he's setting us up for an exit, really. And if I was the CEO or Sir Jim Ratcliffe, I wouldn't be very happy about that, because it's sort of you're throwing mud at your employer, really. Yeah, that's what you're doing. And also, what I would say as well is, and this is where we're being forced to pick sides again, and I'm not picking sides. I'll tell you now, I'm not picking sides on this, because as much as I don't like the ownership and I'd rather go on Bruno's side, I'm not being a hypocrite. When the Saudis came in with that money at the end of May, I said sell him. So if the club did say, we want you to go, and he decided to stay, well, the club were only doing what many of you said they should have done. What many of you were saying last night they should have done. We should have sold him and bought the midfielders. So I can't believe I'm saying this, but I don't really have a problem with the club if they wanted him to leave. I don't. I think Bruno does. I think Bruno doesn't like it because he feels like he's given everything to the club. He's worked hard for the club. He's always available. That's absolutely fine, mate. But better players than you have left. David Beckham, Roy Keane, it's not like just because you played well and, you're always available doesn't mean we need to keep you. You're playing in the midfield. I'd take the money, thanks. Goodbye. Go and enjoy Saudi. That's what I said. If you're playing as a number 10, it's a different conversation. But Amrim told you to stay and then played you in the midfield. I would have sold you, and so would most of this chat, but from what you've been saying over the last 6 months. So the timing of it's just really weird, and I actually do not agree with him saying it. I don't see the point in it. I don't see what it does other than cause disruption and problems again. I don't see why, as the captain of the club, you need to have that interview and say that. It's self-serving. I think it's very self-serving, and it throws the club under the bus. And if the club did want to sell you in the summer, I'd almost go fair fucking play. Why didn't you do it? Because that would have given us 80, 90 million pounds to spend on a midfield that's dead. So, I don't... Shane says your hate for Bruno is a joke. It's not hate, mate. It's not hate. It's reality. 76% of you voted in June to sell him. I was one of those people. I said, if he's not going to play as a number 10, sell him. We haven't used him as a number 10. So I would have sold him in the summer. So I apparently think the same as the club. I would have liked him to go. I don't have a problem with it. It's not being a hater. I don't have a problem with us selling Bruno last summer if we were going to play him as a midfielder. And all these people running around going, oh, I'm with Bruno. Great. You don't have it. You're with Bruno. Well done. But I'm not going to lie, because someone can go and take the clip. I said, if he's going to play as a midfielder, I would have sold him in June. And if the club had that opinion, as much as I don't like the Glazers and I don't like what Sir Jim Ratcliffe's doing, I do agree with that. Sorry. I don't have a problem with it. And Bruno coming out and moaning about it, who do you think you are? You're meant to be the captain. You're on very good money. You're not having a good season as a midfielder. I don't think you're untouchable, mate. I don't. And I think that, you didn't get sold. You're still here. So why are you moaning about you feel they wanted to sell you but they didn't have the balls to do it? Well, did that not benefit you anyway? So look, I think it's interesting, but I still, part of me thinks it's a fake interview. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense at all. But of course, it's going to create more drama, and it just seems to be drama around Man United at the moment. And I didn't expect that this morning, to be honest with you. I didn't expect it, and I don't really understand it. I'll certainly be reading your comments after the video, trying to see what your understanding of why he's done it. Because the only thing I can think of is he off to Saudi in January? Very unlikely. Is he preparing for a Saudi move in the summer? Probably. Because if we're not in Europe, I think he's 100% going anyway. And we always had the theory that he was going next summer. So maybe it's just about, setting himself up for that. I don't know. It feels very random. If Bruno didn't shush Old Trafford, no story, says Tainted. Roberto, thank you very much for your super chat. Tainted Justice as well. The Glazers are like a boa constrictor, suffocating United for 20 years, says Shotgun Justice. Amrin plays Ahmad and Heaven, who are our youth, but if he doesn't play Mainoo, then he doesn't respect our youth. English bias, says Hip. I wouldn't say Ahmad's our youth. Casemiro, we bought him in from Atalanta as a player that had played for Atalanta, so I don't think he's classed as youth. He's young. Casemiro is our best player. Mainoo offered nothing, says Mac. And apparently his family was giving out them T-shirts to fans as well, says Akshay. Fun fact, free Mainoo was a nod to Casemiro to get stuck in and another tasty tackle. Another yellow, got suspended. Mainoo is now free to play, says V-Man. Has Bruno become the new McTominay? Good for goals, but poor in the role he's being selected for, says Shotgun Justice. And also, no player is bigger than the club, says Danny. And MJ says, clarifies once again player power and how weak the club is. Still poor from the captain, if true. Look, MJ, I'll leave the Bruno one because I want to talk about Semenyo and we can go back to it maybe. But I don't think the captain of Man United should be there doing interviews that he knows are going to go public, slagging off the owners because they might wanted to sell him in the summer. Why didn't you go to Saudi then? Yeah, I just find it, I just think it's just badly timed and it's strange. And I think you're right. I think there's a lack of discipline in that football club, but, you know, that's nothing new. Yorkie says, at least a leading figure goes in on the circus of a club and ownership and lack of club DNA, but he's not done that, has he? He hasn't done that at all. If he did that, I'd back him. He's not gone in on the ownership or the club or the lack of DNA. He's moody because he felt like they wanted to sell him in the summer. That's not the same, is it? That's not standing up for how the club's been run. That's not standing up for a lack of DNA. That's basically having a moan because you feel like they wanted to sell you. It's self-serving. It's not serving us as the fans. I watched us sell Stam. I watched us play Rooney right wing. I can deal with a slightly better player than the rest of the rubbish. Go, says Teddy Bear Plays. And Sarvesh says, so is Bruno actually preparing ground to throw manager in the bus and sack him? He's undermining the club. He's undermining the manager decisions, says Sarvesh. Thank you very much. Look, it's interesting. Maybe some people have a better take. On a more positive note, potentially, this one was very interesting that came in from Ben Jacobs as well. Lots of talk around Semenyo this morning. As well. So Ben Jacobs basically backing up what Sky Sports have reported this morning. Manchester United's interest in Semenyo is active. Bournemouth would only consider a move with an outgoing. Semenyo calm about his future and waiting to see which clubs commit to triggering or matching his clause, which drops by around 5 million in the summer. Deal worth 65 million if clause is triggered in the first 10 days of January. Slightly less for buyers due to solidarity. So I think that, look, Man United have been heavily linked with Semenyo this morning. I don't know. I don't know that I stand by what I said last week. I would like us to sign him. I think he's a good player. Is he the right type of player for Man United? I don't know. Is it the right signing for Man United at this time? We need a midfielder. Have we got the money to do it? I don't know. He's not going to the AFCON, so it doesn't impact on him. I think he plays for Ghana, doesn't he? They didn't qualify, but they did qualify for the World Cup. I don't know. I don't know whether this is one of those ones where we're being used because it's Sky who have really gone on big on it this morning. I don't know whether we're being used here because of Spurs' genuine interest. Arsenal might be interested. I just feel like it sort of ties in with the game last night. Like, I stand by exactly what I said after the game yesterday. I saw what Gary Neville said. I saw what Amrim said. Gary Neville said, I can live with that draw because it was entertaining. That's fine. It's an opinion. Amrim said pretty much the same. I don't agree with that as a manager of Man United. I don't. I'm sorry. It was entertaining. It was like a game of basketball. As a pure game of football, it was very entertaining. You can't walk away from it and go that a point against Bournemouth's good, though, whether it's 6-6 or 0-0. It was drop points. And the manager can't be coming out going, you know, I see it as a positive, or, you know, it was a fun game, or whatever he wants to call it. But you've got 2 points from 9 at home against Everton, Bournemouth and West Ham. It was an entertaining game, but we could have lost it. We should have lost it. I don't think we're at the stage of the season where we can walk away from a team that's shite and hasn't won a game since October and say a 4-4 draw against Bournemouth is a good result, and, you know, let's move on to the next one. I think it's dropped points, and those points were dropped because let's get real. The team looked better when you abandoned your formation and went to a back four, which is not your formation. So I still think there's a lot of frustration in relation to the game last night, and I'm not going to paper over the cracks because it was an entertaining game. We should have been out of sight. I think Amrim said it himself. We should have been out of sight. But I think more importantly, it feeds into this Semenyo story because he played for Bournemouth last night, but also it feeds into that story because if you give me him and put him on the left-hand side, what does that do for my midfield? Like, we might score 5 goals, but then concede 5 goals. We scored 4 goals last night. Like, creating chances wasn't the problem. It was the midfield's inability to protect the defence and protect leads. How are we conceding 4 goals? Because our midfield is redundant, basically. 3 goals conceded. Mainoo comes on, gives a little bit of stability. 1 goal conceded, 2 goals scored. Now, I'm not here backing Mainoo. What I'm saying is, and I said it in the watch-along last night, if you give me Fulham's midfield, we'd be comfortably top 4. Now and at the end of the season. I'm not asking for Anderson and Baleba. I'm asking for 2 midfielders with discipline who know what they're doing, who can actually run. We need that more than we need anything else at the moment. We've got to resolve the midfield. And I'm not even asking for like Kimmich. I'm asking for 2 midfielders who can discipline and sit and do their job. And this is a massive problem. So if we are going to go to Semenyo and give him £60 million or whatever to come to Man United, fantastic. But we're going to stick with the same midfield for the rest of the season, are we? I can't believe we're not doing anything with the midfield. Now, as Theo says, if it's Gallagher and Semenyo in January, yabba dabba do, top 4. I'm worried about Europe, you know. I'm worried about Europe. Financially, this club is on its arse. We need European football. We don't look good enough for Europe at the moment. We don't look good enough for it. We might go there and play some entertaining basketball, but we don't look good enough to qualify for it. And it has to be the midfield. It's got to be the midfield. That has got to be the priority. So, look, if we are genuinely going to bid for Semenyo, I see it as a positive. He's a good player, but it also means we've got 60 million quid. And if we've got 60 million quid, for the love of God, buy a fucking midfielder first, please. Eddie Mack says, I think Bruno is done, Mark. Could he be gone in January? Mate, I'm still like, if you're tuning in, Bruno Fernandes has basically done an interview saying that he's not very happy. The club wanted to sell him in the summer, but didn't have the balls to do it. Amrim persuaded him to stay, and he wasn't ready to go, and he feels very disappointed. I don't get why you've done it. I don't really get it. You're the best paid player. You know, you're the captain, and you're here. Do you need Sir Jim Radcliffe to, you know, give you a hug every morning? You know, the fans appreciate you. Like, why would you do that as the captain of the club? It's just, I'd be very interested to see, 1, if it's genuine, which apparently it is, and 2, what the reaction is from the likes of Roy Keane. Because as an ex-captain of the club, I wonder if he's going to be on board with that. I think it's really ill-advised and self-centered and self-serving, and I don't really get it. You know, you're having a good season on paper, at least. You know, I don't get why he's done it, and I don't know what the thing is in life. You've got to figure out the motivation and what they want. If he's done it because he's just not happy with the club, what a prat. You know, you've just caused yourself problems for no reason. If he's doing it because it's a hint that he's leaving, I get it. And I just think it might just be the beginning of the end, that he's going to go in the summer. That's what I think it is all about, because, you know, you're basically saying, I don't feel appreciated by the owners. Well, the owners of the football club, look at the way Mo Salah's been treated. The worst thing Man United can do now is say, we love you, Bruno, here's a new contract. I wouldn't rule it out, but that would be absolutely ridiculous to do that. So it just feels like it's the beginning of the end, you know. Remember when scoring goals was an issue last year, says Kai. I think Bruno is done. I've done that one. As a neutral, the game against Bournemouth was the first in a long time I saw moments reminiscent of what United used to be. Would you agree, says J3T. No, I don't actually. You know what my thoughts on the game were yesterday? And again, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I said it in the preview. Bournemouth concede nearly 3 goals every away game. They play wide open with massive space. And that, for the way we play, is perfect to create loads and loads of chances. And we created loads and loads of chances. And we could have won the game 4-5-0. What actually happened was we played shit in the midfield and not too much better at the back. And we conceded 4. And it ended up being an entertaining game because it was 4-4. But really, I think we should have won 4-0. I think Bournemouth played right into our hands. We won't be able to play like that against a team that's well organised. So, disappointed. You know, I'm sure it was entertaining, but from a Man United fan point of view, that's 2 points dropped. We should have won the game, and that's my question. Why we didn't win a game where Bournemouth basically turned up with the lube and said, do it, and we didn't do it. I don't know why. What's your opinion on Tavernier joining Man United, Mark? Solid CM, says John. I'd rather take Scott. Ivan says, I can't believe this is a real interview. So basically, the only reason our captain is here is because his family is settled in England. Well, he was bigging up the Saudi league as well, saying, you know, I can go to a place that doesn't rain in an established league with good players. I don't get it. It was almost like a love letter to the Saudi league in a way as well. It's strange. I watched us all sell. I've done that one. Thank you very much. Look, on the Mainoo situation, I've got to be honest. This is what the BBC have written. They said a T-shirt worn by Kobbie Mainoo's half-brother was among the post-match talking points at Old Trafford. Jordan Mainoo-Hames wore a free Kobbie Mainoo T-shirt during the match, a move that risks making a delicate situation even more fraught. Mainoo's United future is the subject of huge debate, with head coach Ruben Amorim yet to hand him a single Premier League start this season. I tell you what, let's put it this way. If Ruben Amorim has a problem with Mainoo's brother or half-brother wearing a T-shirt saying free Mainoo and, you know, causes an issue with Mainoo about that, but allows his captain to do what he's done, we've got a problem. There is a captain of Man United basically causing a shitstorm, and there is a half-brother of Mainoo wearing a T-shirt. I would say the bigger story is what Bruno's done. And what responsibility has Kobbie got for a family member wearing a bloody T-shirt? I just don't think it's relevant. I think the media will go, oh, look at this, it's a great story. And I think some of our fans will go, oh my God, this is a great story. But unless Mainoo has told his brother to wear the bloody T-shirt, what's he got to do with Mainoo? You know, I'm more interested in when he came on yesterday, in my opinion, possession factually got better. We scored 2 goals and the midfield looked slightly better balanced. I wouldn't say it was perfect, but it looked slightly better. And I feel justified in saying this is why he needs to play more, because Bruno's shit in the midfield, Casemiro's too slow, and Mainoo gave us a little bit more balance. It wasn't perfect, but is he going to be perfect when he hasn't had hardly any minutes this year and he's basically not match fit? We saw it with Martinez. As I said, he came on, he cost us a goal because he wasn't match fit. So if you give Mainoo more time, imagine how more control we'll get in the midfield. So he can be better than that. And that, for me, makes our midfield better. But or go and buy someone in January. But the midfield looked better balanced with Mainoo in it than it does without. And I think it'd be even better balanced with Casemiro and Mainoo. I think people think he's got to be Casemiro's replacement. I think it's Casemiro and Mainoo gives us more balance, and Bruno should be a 10. But, you know, I don't think that's ever going to happen. What his brother does is down to Kobbie. How the fuck is... Mate, that's just Idiot of the Year competition. So, you know, if someone walks around saying something about me and I don't know about it, why has it got anything to do with me? You know, if someone buys one of our Christmas jumpers with my face on that says Merry Christmas, you prat, doesn't mean I'm saying Merry Christmas to you. It's just someone with a jumper on that says something about me, you know. Hope you're well, Mark, and United stand. January's a big month for us to do business. Difference between getting Europe or not. Semenyo would be great, but focus on the midfield first, says Daniel. Well, I couldn't have put it any better. I think the January transfer window becomes very interesting now. I just can't believe this. I can't believe this Bruno stuff. I'm waiting for somebody saying it's a comment. Somebody just said, yes, but it's his brother. So if you've got a brother or a sister and they do something that you've not told them to do, it's your fault. We live in a strange world. Stop bowing down to moronic hyperbole media shit and think about it. A family member of Mainoo wears a t-shirt saying free Mainoo. How is that anything to do with Mainoo? You know? It's nonsense. The irony is, if Amrim loves Bruno so much, he should make Bruno number 10 and play a 4-3 to make 4-3-3 to make space for his natural position, says Parker. Good morning, Mark. Did we actually play a back four yesterday? If so, why did Amrim not make it official on the team sheet? I think it became more of a back four in the second half, and I think it was more of a back five in the first half. I think there was tweaks. But I would say if Bruno, if he starts playing a back four, he may as well not be here, because that's not what we brought him for. Dial, is the kitchen revamp finished, Mark? Not quite. Thank you very much for that. John says, I don't understand why Mount is on 10 all the time while Bruno is at CM. Mainoo would be wonderful, play alongside Casemiro for possession and defence. Thank you very much for that as well. So yeah, look, some big stories this show, and I just think, yeah, it needs reiterating that this sensational interview from Bruno did take place in the international break in November and has taken a few weeks to come out. But in some ways that makes it even worse, because in the international break in November, we were looking at the next 10 games and going, we could get 30 points, we could be on our way back. He hasn't done it after a disappointing performance last night. So again, it's a strange one for me. And, you know, I'm sort of, it's another problem for Manchester United, with regards to, you know, where we're at. He says, Manchester United wanted me to leave. I have that in my head. I think they didn't have the courage because Amrim wanted me here. But from the club side, I felt that if I left, it wouldn't be so bad. Cristiano advised me, but the final decision always rested with me. I decided to stay because I genuinely love the club, but loyalty isn't as well regarded as it once was. I decided to stay also because of family reasons, but because I genuinely love the club too. The conversation with the manager also made me stay, but from the club side, I felt a bit like if you leave, it's not so bad for us. It hurts me a bit more than hurting. It makes me sad because I'm a player. Well, look, you know what? I understand him being sad, but if the football club makes him feel like they wanted him to go, so what? You know, you're not Cristiano Ronaldo, you're not Lionel Messi, you're a player in a team that's just finished 15th and lost a cup final. I don't, you know, maybe the timing of it is waiting for a time where United are doing well and he looks in, you know, it looks like he's irreplaceable. We just finished 15th in the league. We just lost the Europa League, and the vast majority of people felt United had hit its lowest point, and we don't have any money. So maybe the club went, it wouldn't be so bad for us to go because you're going to bring money in, and we're at rock bottom anyway. Why is that such a? You see what I mean? I don't think you can criticise the club for indicating that it might not be bad if he left. I understand that he doesn't feel happy about it and feels underappreciated. But we had this conversation in June. Bruno needed to be the sacrificial lamb to allow us to rebuild. So I understand Bruno's point of view that he feels sad that the club wanted to push him out the door. But I understand why the club would want to push him out the door. So I don't really know why you're putting it out there publicly now, because it's just going to cause trouble. But at the time, I think you can see both sides. I think you can. I don't think it's as shocking as some people want to make it out that the club might have wanted him to go in the summer. It makes total sense. Total sense to some of us. Right. Would Amrim do what Slot did and drop Bruno, says Josh? No, not at all. Okay. Right, anyway, I want to get some lunch. I'm starving. But thanks, everyone, for tuning in if you watch live. I'm sure the comments are going to be very interesting, so maybe pop down back in about 20 minutes and start reading them. I certainly will. Thank you so much, everybody. 8 o'clock show tonight, and we've got an interview with a journalist coming out at about 4 o'clock today as well, which hasn't even been recorded yet, so I don't know what's going to be in it. So that'll be very interesting as well. Great show, everybody. Always here. Obviously, we're going to get a lot of people disagreeing on this, but isn't that what it's all about? But ultimately, I just think it's more shit for the club to deal with, isn't it? And I'd rather be talking about how we dropped points against Bournemouth last night, but maybe we'll get into that at 8 o'clock. Stay safe, take care, thanks for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel, and I'll speak to you on the next one. And please smash a like on the video. We're nearly at 1,000 likes. Thank you.